Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this evening, or probably afternoon stateside, we're joined by Bryan S Arnold, who is a well-renowned podcaster, entrepreneur, writer, and general all-around nice guy. And he's based in Boston, USA. And how are you doing today, Bryan? You okay?
I'm doing great. Yeah, this is it's a little chilly today, but that is to be expected in December. So, but we're doing great, having a good time.
Brilliant, brilliant. And we met recently after I come on your podcast, and I thought it'd only be fair to return the favor and get you on mine. And
Thank
you
you.
do well, an interesting podcast about people finding their voice, if you like, and their position of influence. So tell my audience a little bit about your podcast and how you come about starting it, etc.
Sure. Yeah, my podcast is called The Authority Project, and it's based on helping people build their own authority platform, how to be an authority in their niche, and I bring guests on to who have built their own authority in their field, and they show how people can mimic their success on the podcast show. So it was based on basically sort of for me, where I've been kind of introverted, a little shy, and I found that the only way to really get out of some of that is to position myself as an authority on a particular platform. And that way I can get out of my shell. I can express who I am. I can, give more exposure to my skill set in that way. And I think that for a lot of people, that's the way to really get out there, especially in right now where social media is just dominating mostly everything right now. So getting out there and finding a platform for yourself to really build your authority is really, I think, one of the best ways to go. Um, Something that you need to really get the exposure out there. So that's what I kind of focus on, and getting people to really push themselves in a certain way, so and position themselves so that they're obligated in some ways to really show who they are and really express their gifts to the world.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And the topic I spoke about on your podcast was about following your passion to find your voice, because I think a lot of people are doing daily routines in jobs or careers or businesses that they're not necessarily that passionate about, but they maybe fell into, or they discovered, or were pushed into by parents or whatever. And I think it takes sometimes the ability to find that real special interest, or that thing you really excel in or you do really well in, to really build that sort of passion in order to be able to then find your voice and want to then put that voice, whether it be in a written way or audio way, but put it somewhere and build up a reputation as being the person who is that authority figure, that is that person, the go-to person in that sector, because they're passionate, enthusiastic, knowledgeable and experienced about that section. So I agree with you 100% on what you're doing, and I think it's important for people to become authority figures in their niches. So how long have you been podcasting for? And was you an authority figure in any other platforms before finding podcasting, or not? What was the journey
Well,
like?
my journey basically is coming from um, the early live stream boom that started like in 2016, when the blogs that the apps that came out that are kind of defunct now, like Meerkat, and there's a few others there that I failed to mention right now, but Periscope, those kind of things where live streaming kind of got me out of my shell, where I was one of the top live streamers on those apps, and it really got me into understanding the power of video on demand. Video where you can just push a button and you can really, like you said, position yourself as an authority, or at least get your voice out there, so people can see who you are and what you do. And that's where it all started from. And I think that I like how you're saying like just want to dive into that passion thing, because I think that a lot of people think that their passion is not something that people want to see, or think that is not valuable. And I think the reason why is because I think they think that no one's going to be able to you know li- you know have a living with this passion. And I think what you can do is just, and that might be true, to be honest, Mike. There might be some passions that you might not be able to make a living, but you can make it to a point where it's a part of your whole platform. So say if you are a writer, but you love, I don't know, making quilts. I mean, actually, that's a pretty big niche now too. But so say if you're making quilts, and you don't think that's something that you can really make a living on, but you're a writer, you can weave those things in. You're a big soccer fan, right? You're a big football, and you
Yeah,
and you
football
and you
and rugby as well. I'm a big sports fan,
right,
actually, but yeah.
right, and so you might not be able to be do something with that, but you can weave that in and say, hey, this is what I do also do. Check me out. And it just gets a part of your story that people will dive into. Maybe they don't like rugby right now, but maybe they will, because Mike Armstrong said, he's here on the field and he's showing us how to do it. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And also you're a coach, you're a life coach and everything else. So it's like, weave that into your whole story, weave that into your platform, because it all makes a difference in people, being attracted to you and being directed to you into your platform.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people think about, being an authority figure, so that they can make a lot of money. The money is only a made up constraint, or an example of exchanging a value. And you can get a lot of value out of doing all sorts of things that may not be monetary value, but they can be other value. So you can become an authority figure in a sector, and even if the community doesn't value the knowledge and the experience enough to give you paper monetary value, you might be able to build a great relationships, meetings of minds, a great community. And actually, generally, you can make money out of a community anyway, some way, whether it be like a membership or an organization or something like that. You don't have to necessarily make money out of the thing that you do, but you can make money out of running or managing the community in the thing that you do, or you become an authority figure in. There's lots of different, there's like Pantheon and subscription models, and there's all sorts of different ways of monetizing that. And also, people seem to value paper, pieces of paper with the pictures of the Queen on, or pictures of ex-presidents on, and that sort of thing, over almost anything else. Actually, to me, the most important commodity on the planet is two really important commodities: time and people. And time, you're never going to get your time back. So you use it doing something that you love. So that's following your passion. Yeah, you're not going to wake up in years to come and go, oh, I wish I did more of that boring thing you did all your life that you're not passionate about. But you might go, well, I wish I did more of the thing I loved, art, or sports, or whatever it was I was passionate about, but I didn't do it because I didn't think I could make money at it. So you're more likely to regret missing out on your passions, but you're never going to regret doing something boring that you're not really in love with anyway. But actually, so time is a massive one, but also people are more important than money. But see, people do so much stuff for money, when if you actually just become an authority figure on your niche, whatever it is, it could be anything. But if you build a lovely community and you've got great friends, and you have great camaraderie, and that's worth more than money. People are way worth more than money, but people can't seem to get that in their head. A lot of people, they're like, unless there's like pound notes attached to it, it's like, I'm not doing it.
Right. And I think the climate is changing now in the industry. So it's like, people are really understanding more that it's all about influence. So it's all about an audience. So that's why I always tell people about building that platform. So when you have people who, that you influence, people that listen to you, that there's a guy that I listen to on YouTube all the time. His name is MKBHD, and he does tech reviews. And I am there with every video, okay, every video, to see him and on his review. And I listen, and he influences me. So if he says this is good, okay, I'm with him. If he says it's not good, I'm like, okay, great, maybe because I believe him, because I know he's been doing this for years, since he's been like 15. He's now like 27, something like that. So he's been doing it. I believe and trust him because he's built a platform that says that I can trust him. So that's why I harp on that when people come out with this with TikTok, and now they got Reels now. If you're on Instagram, or find something, find a platform where that you're comfortable with. It doesn't have to be those social platforms, but it could be something where you're putting out what someone told me this the other day, one of my guests, about have an opinion. Have an opinion and stand on that. It might be controversial. Another guest told me that, Darren Monroe, something about it might make it controversial. And Simone, I think Simone, I forgot the other person's name, but have an opinion, even if it's controversial, so people can be like, oh, what is he saying? That's different. And you're going to start to attract people who want to talk and converse with you. And now you're starting to influence. Now you're starting to build a platform where people are looking at you like, okay, I can partner with this person. I can work with this guy because he has the ears of people that we want to bring their products to, or whatever, bring their attention to. So
yeah.
Understand the climate right now. It's so much different now than traditional marketing right now.
Yeah, definitely. And, I've been doing sort of sales and marketing for such a long time that I've gone through, probably started off with LinkedIn as LinkedIn and maybe a bit of Facebook around the same sort of time. But then, I love technology and I love learning new things and trying new things. So, I then switched through, places like Twitter and Pinterest and blogging. And I was doing blogging for 15 years before I started podcasting. And then I do a bit of podcasting, do a bit of YouTubing. But I don't jump from one to another and leave the others go. I keep the others going in the background. I intensely use them for a while I'm understanding the language, understanding the intricacies, understanding how it all works. And then I put them into the mix because I believe if you want to be truly global, if you want to be massive, then you've got to be omnipresent. You've got to be everywhere, because obviously your audience, for me, my audience, my target audience is entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of them, and they're everywhere. So, you again, depending on your niche, you pick and choose the platforms that are best at targeting your niche. But if you've got some big niches, then you've got to be lots of places. And I'm always into trying to work out, I'll try everything, and then you sort of prioritize which ones get you the best results, and you go down the list. So like you do stuff less than others, but I won't get rid of anything or not use anything. I let it grow. The stuff will grow organically, even if you don't do anything, as long as if you have done stuff on it for a long time or substantial period of time, it still grows at its own organic pace. So that's something which I sort of recommend. Is that something that you do, or do you tend to stick to podcasting, or what?
Yeah, well, I think that you should have or find a place where people are listening to you the most and stay there. But I don't think you should empty out all the other platforms. You should have some type of visibility on all the platforms in some way. You don't want to be zero. I don't believe in that. But you need to have one place where people are like, that's where I go to that person enough. So that at the point, especially if you're like a solopreneur, just starting out and it's just you, get to a point where you're finding that one platform that people are listening to you the most. Do that, and then build up after a while, so that to a point where you can have a team, you have an assistant that can branch out and start doing some other things on your other social platforms, because you're not going to be able to do this all the platforms by yourself. You can try your best, but there's no way you're going to be able to do all that and then try to build some kind of business on the side, whether it's be a full-time business or a side hustle. There's just no way to do it. That's when people say they don't have enough time. They're right about that. Yeah. I don't believe that. I don't believe this, because there's so much energy. It's just so much energy that you can have try to be on all the platforms at once. So find the one that people are actually listening to you the most, stay there, and then then like branch out on the other ones just a little bit until you get to a point where you can have some people to help you out. I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna branch out. Now I'm gonna put some content here, there, and everywhere, and let them do their thing. Because otherwise, you're just gonna burn out. And that's my biggest thing about anything when you start a platform, whatever. If you're to a point where you're just like, this is this when you're starting to not believe yourself anymore because you're doing all this work, but you're trying to put all this work in all these different things, and you're burning yourself out. You need to get into that point where you're actually doing something where people are to that whatever platform it is, where people are actually listening to you and responding. That's when you know you have something, and I think that's the place where you should stay in the beginning.
Yeah, good. So, so obviously, you do a lot of podcasting, and you do some live streaming into, I think you do it into Facebook. And do you do anyone else? Do you live stream anywhere else?
Yep, live stream is the podcast is on the podcast mainly is on my Facebook's my platforms there, Periscope, Twitter. Even though I think Periscope's about to leave because I think Twitter's about to take over. It's about to remove that completely.
Yeah,
you'll see that pretty soon. But and YouTube, and I'm trying to work in LinkedIn here and there. To put that there. So. And Instagram is just a tough thing because Instagram is its own little thing. So I can't really live stream. You don't want to really live stream a podcast on Instagram because it's their bandwidth isn't great on there. I would say live stream for sure, but not I wouldn't do like a podcast from there because people the audio files, the podcast audio files will drive you, will kill you on there. But anyway, that's a whole another long story there, Mike. But yeah, so I think you do different things on different platforms. Yeah. So you can't do you do different things on TikTok that you would do differently on Instagram, and you could do different things on Twitter that it's a different language, there's different people in different places. So I'm branching out here, but I think you need to do what's relevant on the different platforms that's there. So what works on Facebook is not going to work on TikTok or Snapchat. What works on Instagram is not going to work on Twitter, So, and you need to see that. You need to see the feedback on that, because if people aren't listening to you, people aren't giving you feedback. I was like, you need to listen to, listen to that and see, okay, what are they responding to? Right now, it's like Twitter, it's all politics, right now, it's all politics, maybe some sports, and business here and there, but you have to know what's out there and get into those places and respond there. Don't force sometimes you can't force out your content. You gotta be in there in the trenches and putting your opinion out there so people can see you. Otherwise, they won't be able to see you just putting out stuff. You got to be in the trenches, working where people are talking. Same thing with Facebook. If you're on the Facebook groups, go into where the big groups are and start talking, start conversing, and putting your opinion out there. Because sometimes when you're just starting out, people might not be listening to you on your on your profile. They don't know you. Go to where the people where the people are hanging out. Just like you're on your regular street curb. You see people crowding around something. What's going on over there? That's where you need to be, because no one's going to be where you are right now.
Yeah, definitely. So, so what? So you started your podcasting journey in 2016. What's the sort of the main lessons you've learned from that journey that you would share to, say, up and coming podcasters or new podcasters?
Well, here's that. I'm glad you said that. It's kind of funny how you said that, because it started in 2016, and then it failed in 2016 too. Because I started a different one in 2016. I started the new one actually this year and made it in it's so much better than when I did. What I would say for podcasters now is just what I teach all of my my students, like, to start with your shell. What do I mean by that? If you're like building a house, or if you're going into a new apartment, you're not going to start with a fully furnished apartment. You're going to be in there and build as you go along. Everything's going to be, you're going to try to get there with maybe a mattress and maybe your one little TV, or or maybe your one dinner table. That's fine. Invite people there to your open house. Okay, this is how it is right now. Okay, great. Now a month from now, you invite some more people in, in there, and then maybe you'll have a picture up there. Maybe you have a vase, with some flowers, and maybe
table
some
and
other
chairs for them
things.
to sit on, etc.
Right. So same thing with a podcast or any other platform that you're building. You're starting with a shell and you're building it out. So what was wrong with me in 2016 is that I was so consumed about,
being finished,
the
like
editing,
having the full
right,
house ready, yeah.
right, the editing, the right mic, all this extra stuff. I was like consumed with the other things that aren't the primary thing in a podcast or anything that you're building. And the biggest thing about everything is the content that you're putting out there. And then if the content is good, then people will start coming and being like, okay, now I have something. Now you have something. Now you have some feedback. People wanting to be on your show. Okay, great. So this is wonderful. Now you can start to build on something that's actually working. Now you can get a new camera like I got here. Now you can get a new mic maybe later down the road. Now you can get, maybe some better graphics, and then start doing that, and then start, now I can find some ways to monetize this thing. But if you're trying to be too perfect in the beginning, you want something really fully furnished in the beginning before you start, then you're already starting on a losing battle at the end, because you're worrying about the wrong things. Trust me, the content will carry you. Worry about the content, get people in there, getting feedback and following, and really loving your show, loving what you do. Then you can branch out and make it look prettier as you go along.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. That is, I've done over 820 episodes, and I'm still in my apartment, with maybe the settee and the telly, and that's about it. Like, you know what I mean? Because to me, the podcast, the full house wasn't the mission. The content was the mission. Yeah, it's getting, having the passion to share your knowledge, your information, your expertise, your passion, build a community. All those sort of things were the reason that I did mine. So, I could probably still do with, decorating and getting some fixtures and fittings and all of that sort of stuff. But it's just time for me. I'm on a different mission because, I'm on a mission to do more episodes than anyone else has ever done in a year or in their first year or whatever it may be, because I want to become a global speaker and I want to leverage the fact that I've done something unique that no one else has done in order to get to that position. So if you like, the podcasting is a tool, it's a stepping stone to a bigger goal and a bigger ambition. And so, it didn't bother to me whether it's fully decorated or not. As long as I can watch telly and sleep in it, I'm happy anyway, like, you know what I mean? And that's, so it's great advice, I second it. And, that's one of the big things, perfection is one of the things that gets in the way of so many people doing so many great things. At the end of the day, it's like, you don't have to start off in the Champions League or the Premier League as a soccer football reference. You can start off in the lower divisions and get promoted every year. And, you can work your way up. You don't have to just start off as the finished article. And, lots of great journeys start off with you can start off anywhere, wherever you start, at least you've begun. And as you begin that journey, you become better and you start to monetize things, etc. You can afford to repaint the house and add some nice pictures in and maybe even some sculptures or whatever, but you don't need that to get going. And that's why so many people stop doing so many things because of that. So, well said and great advice. And actually, I've encouraged a few people to get going with their podcasts. I think because they've seen, like, people ask me, like, what have I done to get going with my podcast? I said, I set up an Anchor app. That is it. That's all I've done. I use my laptop. You know what I mean? I got an Anchor app, and it's fine, And obviously, at some point, I want to develop it and, turn it into a condo or, turn it into a massive apartment block, etc. But to start with, I'm happy. As long as I can watch TV and sit on the sofa, I'm on my way. So that's good. That's a really good tip to get going. What would you said obviously about content? Content is key. Have you done some research into the sort of the content that their other podcast listeners are wanting, or do you just put out there the content and you want to put out there and hope that there's listeners out there who want to consume your content? How do you deal with that sort of thing?
I try to stick with my own theme, I guess. My own theme, so that it's about people who have built an authority in their niche, because it's kind of based on what I believe. But I also get the feedback from my audience about what they're looking for. I kind of see what their pain is, and I kind of weave that in, maybe to some of the questions I ask my guests, or I find some guests who are particularly, I need this person for, I need you right now. So maybe I'll hunt that person down. Like, I need somebody who does this, because that's
So
what they're asking for.
your audience is demanding, for example, someone who can talk about how they can excel on TikTok. Then you go and find a TikTok specialist.
Right. Exactly. Or it might be something seasonal. Maybe it's something like, it's the end of the year. I need somebody who's good at productivity, that can show us how to schedule out the next year.
Yeah.
Because it's that type of season now. Like, okay, I need somebody who does this. And I had somebody like that, not too long ago. I was like, this is perfect. Can you get on? I got her on. I got her on the show. So whatever is needed. It could be something like monumental, like, this is my 50th show. I need somebody, maybe somebody more distinguished or whatever. It just depends,
That's like
but
me.
I always try
I got my 1,000th episode coming up soon, so I'm looking
awesome.
I'm looking for a big guest for that one. Like, I'm on 820 at the moment, but it might take me 180 episodes time to get the person I want. So that's why in my head I'm floating around thinking who would make my perfect 1,000 guests. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from there. And like you said again, at this time of year, lots of people are setting resolutions. So actually, anyone who deals with goal setting as a alternative to resolutions, and actually sticking to your goals and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I understand exactly where you're coming from there, and there's some good advice, some great advice in there as well, really, about it's that combination, I suppose, of putting out there what you want, but also trying to adapt what you want into how it fits into what the audience wants to do, and coming up with that nice middle ground.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
I've done a bit of research because I'm a search marketer and I do search engine optimization and that sort of stuff. So I've also had a little look about, what keywords are coming up with podcasts and what podcasts are in the charts and stuff, because, I do so much as well. It's also about just adapting what I do to the language of the people who are looking for what I do, but they may be looking for it in different search terms than what maybe I'm describing it as. So you can just morph that language into the same language, because sometimes you might be offering resilience training or advice or something, and they're looking for, how to overcome problems or something like, what I mean? It might be the same topic, but described differently.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So and I try to highlight the guests in what they're great at teaching. Because I don't like to, I have I'll have some questions that are like kind of constant. Because I think when people are coming to your podcast or any kind of content, they're looking for something. Like, I can't wait for, I can't wait to see how they answer this. Like I watch a sports show. I'm like, well, I can't wait to see how they respond to this, how they respond to that win. You know how you get to some podcasts.
Yeah. Well, like when they do the breakdown, like when they do the breakdown of the certain stats, and then you get used to that as a feature. So then if it didn't on one episode, you'd be like, what happened to the stats, man?
Right. So I weave in. I have some constant some constant questions in the beginning and one at the end. So people are like, okay, well, I'm going to see how this guest answers this one. I want to see. So have that, but then have some other stuff that like we're having a great conversation here. It's something that I do on my podcast too. But I want them to highlight and really teach what they're best at teaching, so that when people are there, they're getting the best of that guest, and not something that I'm overshadowing them at all. So that's very important to me.
Okay, and obviously you said you were sort of shy, if you like, or an introvert, and you used the podcasting and speaking, etc., to get yourself out of that. What's your background? Before you got into all of this, so before 2016, what did you used to do with yourself then?
So it's very interesting that you say that, because even though I am an introvert, my background mainly is in customer service and administration. So I did interact a lot. So I was able to also connect with different people, on a different scale, because I learned how to deal with different types of personalities, different people, and how to adjust and how to accommodate different people from different all walks of life. So I guess that's also a reason why I'm here too. There's always some kind of pattern. There's always some kind of history on how people got to the point. They may not know it, but if they look back, this thing about me being so, immersed in customer service from different companies and seeing how they've done it gets me to a point where I know how to talk to people in a certain way, even if it's one-on-one or if it's chat or what have you. There's a way to do those things, and maybe maybe that's something that I can put a product in. Maybe make that some kind of product sometime, because I think it's so important how you deal with different people and how you deal with walks of life. A lot of people don't do it correctly. A lot of people don't know how to talk in a certain way where you are inviting and understanding that people are different than you.
Yeah.
They're not going to be just like you. Okay, you might have your tribe of people that have same interests. Even in that, or even in some other people, you're going to encounter people who are the exact opposite, doing different things. And I want people who are doing business to understand that that's okay. That's okay that they're not like you. Be accommodating, understand that, and understand that, okay, he's this kind of person, great. He's not like me, and that's fine. Let's see how we can work together still. And if that doesn't work, then fine. But still be accommodating and don't burn those bridges. I can't stress that enough. Do not burn those bridges, because that person could lead you to somebody else that might be somebody you can work with, someone you can partner with in the future. So understand that and be okay with that, and you have a better business because of it.
Yeah, and I'm an award-winning networker, and I often second that at networking events, because there's so many people who gravitate towards their peer group or their age range or their ethnicity or their sector or whatever. They gravitate towards those people because it's comfort, and they're used to communicating and conversing with that type of person. And sometimes they look at somebody else and they might be in a niche or a sector that they think is not for me. So they just wouldn't necessarily build a relationship with that person. But actually, if you build a relationship with everybody, then you just don't know who people know. And so, things can lead to all sorts of things. Yeah. If you're willing to give it a chance, it's that same thing as, don't judge a book by its cover, if you like. Don't assume, and don't take the easy route out and just think, oh, that person isn't for me, because, ultimately, everybody knows lots of people, and all sorts of people have got all different sides to their characters. And so sometimes the first side that you see isn't necessarily always the main side or the best side or the full side. It could just be a side. We all have different personalities, and we're all different people to different people as well. And so sometimes sometimes you meet the driest of people, and they're very rigid and stuff, but then you get to know them, and they got a great sense of humor, and they start opening up, and as these people, as you start peeling back the layers, they get very interesting. Some people who can seem very, unhelpful or cold or whatever, can really, once they open up, they really become, flowers and beautiful colored and, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? They've got a lot of depth to them. But you just need to get under a couple of layers first to see that, like.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just never know. I mean, you're here on this earth to make an impact. So don't miss that chance. Even if you don't vibe with that person, don't miss the chance to make an impact on him by the way you respond in kind to him, even though he might be a little offish to you. Be the person that you I don't want, I want to say born to be. Hopefully you're born with good roots. I think everybody is in some way or shape or form. But be that person. You have no idea how much of an effect that can be on a person that might have this first impression on you. But you're being kind. You're being grateful. You're being thankful for him, and he's seeing that. You know what? I can't knock this guy. I can't knock this guy. This guy's been good to me. But I can't hate. So don't be a hater. That's what I'm trying to say.
Definitely, definitely. And what I always say as well is like you said, you wouldn't necessarily think sometimes being in a customer service role is a key ingredient to becoming a podcaster. But you never know sometimes the skills you're learning and the muscles you're exercising and the strength you're building up in what areas, doing whatever we do in life at the early stages. It's like when people sometimes refuse to do a job because they're like, I'm too good for that job. You don't know what skills and what muscles that job is doing, which will then elevate you to higher jobs. Sometimes you can't see the connections, but there's all sorts of strength being built up. And any job, these like retail jobs and service jobs and entry-level jobs, they get you further up the career path because they give you skill sets that you don't even know you're building up, but other future employees see in you or you see in yourself, which allows you to go and do greater things because of that strength and that experience and that knowledge that you don't even realize you've got. But sometimes you've just really, really put into you without even realizing.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that, and it's so important to understand that you have a skill set. You might not know it, but if you just think back in history and understand whatever you do, find some way to develop that. Like this podcasting, you have to learn a skill set of interviewing. After a while, you may start off with fumbling up a little bit and like, okay, now you start to look at different things differently now. Like I'm looking at the news differently now. Like, okay, that's a good, I'm starting to listen to interviews.
Yeah.
How can I use that? That's great stuff. So this will take me somewhere else where I'm like, okay, now I'm like, maybe I'm on a panel, I'm interviewing people on a panel, which will happen eventually. Maybe I'll be doing something else where I'm interviewing some high celebrity somewhere, high level celebrity somewhere where this thing is taking me like, okay, I'm comfortable, but you have to start that platform to get anywhere. It cannot be in your head. You have to get out there and do it.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot of people who study the law of attraction and all of that sort of stuff, which I'm a big fan of as well. But they think that they can just manifest things into their life and just think about them. But to me, you've got to think about them first and then create massive action in order to achieve them. You know what I mean? It's just like a two-way thing. You've got to get your psychology and your mind right to want to do it. But then you've got to get yourself a plan of doing the right things to get you towards whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And you just got to go and do it. And there's no way you can just achieve anything in life without rolling up your sleeves and getting involved in some way.
Right. I totally agree with that. I'm glad you brought that up because it's like you're incongruent when you do that. You might be thinking of things, but if your body is not in motion and acting on that, it's not congruent. So you're actually telling yourself something different than what you're thinking now. So once you get those thoughts, you have to put that into action so that everything is is aligned and congruent and that you're really moving to the next level. Otherwise, you're telling yourself something different if you're not acting upon your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously you've been podcasting for a while now. You YouTube as well. What do you see the future looking like? What's your plans? What are you trying to achieve? What's the big goal, etc.?
That's a good question. My big goal is to really build a community. I think off of this platform of podcasting and helping solopreneurs get off the schneid. Hope I get that right, and really start moving and start building their platforms. I think it's a simple thing to do, but it's not easy because I think people overcomplicate it and don't understand that everything doesn't have to be perfect in the beginning. And
No.
they look at perfection or what they feel is perfection from other people and think that they just want to jump there and miss all of the steps in between. So my biggest thing with the podcast or whatever I'm teaching, one-on-one coaching, whatever, my biggest thing is just helping them build this shell and getting them over the hump to the point where they're a solopreneur to a point where they're getting a team together, because you can't stay. So to me, unless there was some rare times, it's very hard just to be solo all the way through. you know, you're gonna need some help. You're gonna need some help on this journey, whether that's through partnerships, whether you have an assistant, whether you have some high tech tools to help you along the way. But you're gonna need something outside of yourself if you really want to get this along. You cannot do it by yourself. So my thing is just to help people race through that solopreneur thing and get to the point where you're having assistants, you're having teams, um, and you're monetizing on the way. You're sharing. My motto for my podcast is build it, share it, and they will come. So if you're not doing at least the top two things, building and sharing, they're not coming. So you got to do those two things in order for you to build that audience and try to monetize off of that audience. It's just a simple thing. It's just not easy to do.
No, that's it. Yeah. Well, yeah, the difference between simple and easy is action. Sometimes things are
Yes.
simple, they're not complicated, but as in they're not the idea behind them isn't difficult, but it's actually you have to just do it persistently, regularly. And that is not easy. That's where people struggle because, it all depends how much passion they've got for it. If they're really passionate about what they do it, they'll stick to that routine. They'll stick to that, that hard work. Yeah, simple idea, but hard work. Yeah, but they'll stick to it. But so many people give up because, again, they don't really know what they want out of life, and they don't really know what they're doing, and so it's a fad. And fads come and go. But when you're really passionate about what you do and you're really trying to make a difference, then
Yeah.
then you'll stick to whatever you do, and the hard work. They always say hard work pays off, and everybody has the ability to become an overnight sensation. But you usually got to work at it. Got to work at it for a while.
Right. It's so funny. I had a client the other day who she was trying to hold off on a session. I'm like, what's going on? I was like, well, you know what? Coach yourself. And so she came back with what was happening is that the stuff that we were doing, she had about 10 other steps to the simple step that I wanted her to do. And it's like, wait a minute. Okay, so now I understand. Now I understand what you're saying, what you're doing. You're just making it not easy for you. You're making it hard for you.
Really
Right.
want to do it, or she's not
Right.
quite sure whether she wants to do it, so she's trying to overcomplicate things to slow the whole process down.
Well, she wants to make it perfect, and I get that. I understand wanting to make it perfect, wanting to make it just extra nice and beautiful because you've seen that from other people, and that's what you want to be like. You want to do just like that, but it's okay to have that shell in the beginning. I'm telling you, that new apartment that has nothing in there, it's okay to have that in the beginning. Just don't leave it like that when you start inviting people over and over again. If people come back and they still see that shell, there's something wrong. Okay, they need to see some improvement. Like you said, like you're doing right now with your podcasting. And like you started off with podcast 1. Now you're at 800 something podcasts. If people came back and like, hey, what happened to that podcast? Well, I'm only on 3 now. And they're like, they're gonna look at you like you're kind of crazy. Like what happened? Is the wheels are not in motion. So it's okay to start with that shell, people, but go to the point where now, okay, I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to add this, that, and the other. Now come back and see what's look at my new apartment now. Now it's different. Come back another few months now. Wow, look at what I got. This going on. So people need to see. Not people need to see that, but you need to see that as your belief, and your belief will start to be better. Because right now, if you're at that shell and you're still there, your belief will just start to just weigh on you like I can't do this. It's not working. I don't know. Yeah, it's not working because you're not moving,
Yeah.
not in motion.
That's the other thing as well, is that some people see other people and they think, oh, I'm going to emulate that, but they haven't emulated the pathway and the journey and the experience. So they're like, oh, I'm going to set up a podcast, and I'm going to talk about this subject or whatever, but they're not an expert in that field, and so they start off with a couple of episodes and they run out of content. It's like, I knew I could create enough content to do 800 odd episodes, to do as many episodes as I could physically do. I knew I had the content in it because I've been doing, sales and marketing for 30 years. So I've got 30 years worth of experience and of knowledge and of information, and I've been a sales manager and a sales director, and I've trained other people, and I have a networker, and they're all intertwined. And so a lot of people just see someone else and go, I'm going to do that, but then they run out of ideas very quickly because so many people think they can get to point Z without going through the alphabet, but you have to go through the letters in order to be able to deliver point Z. It's not just can't cut corners a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. So you've provided quite a lot of knowledge and information and lessons today. Is there anything you haven't covered or I haven't asked you about that is something that you really want to help educate people with?
I think that people just have to be careful, especially now, on information overload. And it kind of goes in the same channels of you looking at other people and thinking that you can do just like that in the beginning, or you're seeing one way to make money, and then you're seeing this other way to make money. You're seeing this other way to make a platform. I'm gonna make this other way to make a platform, and you don't stick to, first of all, what you're great at. First, stay there, and then add to it. Stay with where you are right now, because everybody has an opinion. Get that? Understand that right now. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has their own method. Master what you're great at. And here's a clear example. Some people will say, I'm not sure if this is the best example, but email is dead. Right? Don't do email anymore. Do chatting, do messaging. But there are people who are making millions doing email still because they've mastered that.
Yeah.
Why should they leave that to just do something else that they, this is working? But then there are some people who are doing great at chatbot. Their messaging is great. They love doing this. Maybe they're not as great at email, but they've mastered this. Wonderful. Stay there. You know what? I'm good at making money with Facebook groups. Awesome. Stay there. That's what they've mastered. That might not be what you master though.
No.
So be very careful about, find the right thing that you're great at. You have to find the thing that you're great at. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that. Let me just, what? They're right. Email. No, messaging. No. And then you're confusing yourself and pulling yourself in so many different directions that you're forgetting that you should be sticking with the thing that you do the best.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, stay there. And everything else can be just branches off of that. You can do some email, you can do some messaging, whatever, but stay in your core, stay at that center, because that's what is going to keep you on the path to success.
Yeah, that reminds me, like what they say in the UK quite a lot with things like a lot of people say telesales is dead. I worked in a company for 10 years that grew from no turnover to 25 million turnover in 10 years by doing telesales. And they're probably 125 million turnover now. 10 years, I left them 10 years ago. And they do telesales and they just do it very, very well. And just because a lot of people think telesales is dead, you know, whatever it may be, you know, like say, like another one, like you know, people used to say print was dead, and then everyone was using emails, and you know, people saying that emails are dead, and you know, but it's about finding, like you say, what works for you, and sometimes, you know, revisiting stuff that used to work, like print, for example. Like as a marketeer, I advise people sometimes to do a bit of print because you know, it's about being where everyone isn't. So like emails, for example, are quite clustered now, which is why some people will tell you emails are dead. But there's loads of people who've built amazing email database lists that make all their money from their email database. So it's always a matter of depending on, you know, the specific case, etc. But, you know, a lot of people say email is dead because obviously the open rates have dropped and things like that. But and that's why print can be really good, because open rates can be really high with print. People see your stuff and that. So, like you say, it's about sticking to what works, but it's also about trying new stuff as well and adapting to changes in times, because circumstances change, times change, just like the COVID now, for example. You know, probably print's a great time if you've got someone with, you've got a lot of home addresses and you've got a lot of print. That was a good time to send people stuff because they're all going to receive it. Exactly. All at home, and they're all going to open it and see it. So, yeah, you know, it's about the, you know, adapting to the situation around you and different trends in market and stuff. But if something's working for you, don't turn it off. Like, you know.
Snail mail is always great. It's always good. It's always good to find something in your mail. You know, oh, I got a package. Oh, you know, it's always great to find something in the mail. But just, I mean, just learn what you're great at. I mean, you could be, I mean, there are people who, like some of the things that we said today, there are people on YouTube right now making millions. They don't know anything about email. They don't know anything about any other platform. They don't know anything about the traditional marketing, whatever, but they're making millions doing what they're great at. They're doing YouTube. They know how to edit. They love editing. They love doing that.
I'm not sure I'm subscribed.
That's what they love. They love video learn. They love teaching you.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel. I think when you did my episode, I think I seen it in Periscope and I seen it on Facebook, but I don't think I seen it on YouTube. I think I looked for it on YouTube. So what's your channel?
It is. This is gonna be funny because I did this before they started regulating some of the titles. So you can go to youtube.com, and there's not much something there yet, but I have aspirations of getting better on that, doing that. But it's Bryan S Arnold. Let me see. Let me make sure I got this right. Is that it? That is it. Bryan S Arnold rocks.
Rocks. Okay.
So youtube.com/Bryan S Arnold rocks. I do mostly the podcast there, but I am working on some other videos that are going to be.
I'm up to 69 subscribers, I think, and I'm trying to get to 1,000 as quickly as possible. Because once you get 1,000, you start monetizing your YouTube.
Right, it's tough. It's tough, and because YouTube has a different language, so YouTube was more action based, more visual. So if you're going down to YouTube, you want to be more visual. You want to see people are going there to learn how to. So yes, that can be a podcast as well, but it's also the things that are different where I want, think about what you want to learn on YouTube. Like right now I'm learning more about the piano. So if I'm learning about the piano, somebody's going to be on there actually doing something like that so I can learn, or if you want to cook a recipe, I'm going to learn how to cook that they're actually cooking. So it's more action based, more visual. And I think if you're doing that, you could go a long way on YouTube.
Yeah, I think I might. So I've been sort of describing my videos as me chatting with whoever who is a entrepreneur, USA entrepreneur, on the podcast show, etc. But I'm actually just, you give me an idea there. I'm going to start advertising it as Mike Armstrong speaking with, say, Bryan S Arnold on how to start a podcast. Yeah. So like that. Yeah. So I usually describe, because I'm into keywords and stuff. So I usually get in like USA entrepreneur and try and get some stuff in that people are gonna, come across or search or find.
Right.
But yeah, most people do. I go to YouTube all the time. People like, if you're young, you go to YouTube for entertainment instead of the TV. And if you're older, you go there to learn. Generally, every time I go to YouTube, or to listen to some music,
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an interesting one to try. But a friend of mine's just got 1,000 subscribers, so I'm going to get him to have a little look at my YouTube channel and see if they can help me up to 1,000, because that's what I've been looking to do. And once you can start monetizing your content, then that's a good step up on the path.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, definitely.
YouTube, a lot of marketers are going back to YouTube. I think it took a little, we were a little stagnant, I think, as far as online marketers. Not all of us, but some of us. Now a lot of people are going back there because it stood the test of time. It really has. Everything is coming up. They got the TikToks, the Instagrams came up, the Facebook is trying to do videos and stuff, but nothing is quite like YouTube. Nothing has ever been quite like YouTube.
No. What's your thoughts? You mentioned earlier about the bandwidth with Instagram, but Instagram have gone a bit complicated. They seem to have, they got reels and then videos and short videos, long videos. It seems to be a bit complicated for me. They could have just done one. I don't know why they've done different sort of options,
They're just putting out more branches. So they're getting competition. I mean, TikTok is a huge platform that is taking away some attention. So there's this competition. So now now they have reels to try to combat that. I'm not sure. And what's kind of crazy that people are just all people are really doing is putting their TikTok videos onto reels. So it's not.
So they're helping TikTok to grow, really.
Right, exactly. Because that's exactly what I do. If I see something nice on reels, I'm like, oh, let me see if I can go to TikTok and follow them. That's what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
And people, so that's exactly what I'm doing. I really follow the reels person, but I'll follow them on TikTok, which is kind of crazy. So.
Yeah, well, I create some TikTok videos, really just sort of like promotional marketing videos, really, which TikTok's probably not the best platform for doing that, but I'm just putting my toe in the water and I'm not going to dance, so I've got to do something. So I just do some sort of, slideshow with bright colors and bright music. So trying to fit in with the TikTok audience, if you like, and try and reach out, if you like, to the young entrepreneurs. So as TikTok grows and as they grow, they may gravitate towards you on your podcast or your YouTube channel because they've seen you on TikTok. It's just a front end to the funnel, if you like. But every time you create a video on TikTok, you can instantly publish it to Instagram. So actually, I put more content on Instagram since I've been TikToking. Because I find, again, because I'm a business, because I'm a content business, really, it's quite hard to constantly have imagery for that. You can come up with quotes and you can come up with nice pictures of your events and stuff, but you can't always constantly, like if you've got a product, or like if you're a retail shop, you've got a product range, you've got a lot of imagery, or if you're like a model and you're constantly having photo shoots or whatever, you've got a lot of imagery. But if you're in the content business, it can take a lot of time to convert some of that content into imagery. So it can be quite hard to fill Instagram. But I find creating some quick TikToks, especially they have templates on TikTok, which you could just upload some pictures into, and they create sort of little mini videos, and then that's how I feed my Instagram these days. Really, is through TikTok videos a lot of the time.
Yeah, just do something simple. I mean, I think, and I've heard this from another marketer. It's like TikTok is just really just being yourself on there, being yourself. Whatever that shell is of yourself is, put it out there, and then show them what you do professionally. I have this thing on my first question is, who are you personally and professionally, right? Show them who you are personally, because that drives people to you. The person here, she got a million likes because she put out there that she had come off her sobriety, and she had went on this drug binge for like a week, and she said, basically, reaching out for help, and then she got 100 million like a million likes off of that, because people just were like, I'm sure they were commenting like, you need help, this is what you do. So she was very grateful for people doing that, because she was just showing herself personally who she was. And people started following her, and now she's like telling people about her journey. Now she's like, she's stopped now. She's back to her sobriety. She's back. She has her relationship back, and everything's better for her. She's very grateful to people. So people want to see the real you, real you first, and be like, oh, you also do podcasting. Oh, you're also a marketer. Oh, that's good. So you're building this person, this grand super person that you are of yourself when you do that. But I would, and on those particular platforms, people want to see who you are personally before they really want to see you professionally. I think that's the best way to go about that.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Right. I think we've covered, a lot of content, a lot of information there, which is fantastic. Obviously, you mentioned you do a bit of coaching as well as the podcast, etc. If you want to, just direct people to where they can find out more about you and get involved in your coaching or anything else that they want to connect with you on.
Sure. Outside of the podcast, the Authority Project, you can go to, and you're going to see a theme, the Authority Letter, which is my newsletter, where you can see I'll have like every week I write something positive about how to build your platform. You also get 3 videos that I put together that helps you build it, share it, so they can come. We analyze that and how you do that as well. Very simple, very short videos. And you can also get me at Brayan.coach. Yes, I was able to get that domain because I love it. Bryan.coach. And you can check me out there. I do coaching there, obviously. And I am a guy who is very much an advocate of hand holding while you're coaching. So I like to be there on the journey with you, instead of just giving you advice and putting you on your way. So check me out there, theauthorityletter.com or Bryan.coach. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. And thank you very much for coming on the podcast and sharing all of that knowledge and experience. And I look forward to you coming on again some other time, and we maybe deep dive on something else, maybe the coaching and the authority letter writing or something. But thanks very much, and make sure you have yourself a great day. Okay.
You too. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem at all. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.